So now, take a journey with me to define a high value man and the traits that WikiHow says a high value man exhibits. Hi, I'm Nicole. I'm a licensed clinician, and we're here talking about everyday things that impact our mental health and fitness, including this fixation that society seems to have these days, at least American society, on what a high value man and a high value woman actually are. And also eventually exploring the overlap or lack of overlap between these terms and alpha male and alpha female. So we just talked about high value women and now talking about high value men. Again, it defines a high value man as respected, successful, likable, confident, and attractive, having a clear purpose in life and achieves his goals, and always learning to better himself emotionally, mentally, and physically. He's committed, emotionally intelligent, responsible, and surrounds himself with other high value people. So there's not really much of a difference in high value men and high value women, except that this kind of neglects to even mention the high value man embracing his masculinity and defining what that means. So I think that that's a really important thing to outline and to know. So WikiHow kind of goes on to break these things down a little bit. So scroll with me. So the very first thing, when you scroll down, it says, while a high value man might sound like an alpha male, pop culture sites claim that he is not the same thing. While alpha males can be aggressive and insecure, a high value man builds others up, seeks committed relationships, and is self assured. So we're dealing with, again, please go back and look at my series on alpha male and defining it, because alpha males are not insecure. Alpha males are challenged for their position, looking at nature, right? They're not pointlessly aggressive. They are aggressive with purpose, whether to put down a challenge or to protect their troop, the people that they're invested in, their animals that they're invested in, whatever. And so they're not these like over steroided lungs at the gym who tend to be aggressive and insecure, right? Like that is not an alpha male. I could talk about this forever and get very passionate about it because it just grinds my gears. How terribly off track we've gotten with defining what an alpha male is. But I digress. Now, going back to the high value man, traits: he's not single minded towards his goal, balances his work with meaningful relationships, hobbies, and relaxation. So there is that aspect of self care amongst high value men and women. They didn't really talk about hobbies for high value women, but assuming. A high values man's purpose and motivation comes from within himself. He's confident in what he wants and leads instead of follows. This is the exact opposite of the definition of value. So, like, let's talk about that. Like, who's assigning value? You can't say that it's a high value person or high value thing without having somebody assign the value to it. I can say that this thing right here, this pen, is of extreme value to me. Maybe because it was a gift. Like, let's say this is like a parting gift from like a loved one, right? Before they died or something. This could be a very high value thing for me, whereas for somebody else, this is a piece of garbage. So there is subjectivity in the term value. It's not a blanket statement. And so I think that saying that like the high value man's purpose and motivation comes from within himself undermines that idea of value. That is alpha, that person who doesn't have to rely on other people to define him so that he can or she can step into a position of leadership confidently and other people respect that and then want to follow, that's very different than other people telling him that he is of value and that he should be a leader and all of that stuff. So next is he builds success for himself and others, whatever that success looks like. Raising a family, being a respected community member, just living each day to the fullest, leading in work, whatever it is. Open to feedback and criticism, naturally curious and well-informed person, ask questions about things that you don't know, emotionally and physically strong. This is the kind of guy, I'm quoting, who is resilient under pressure and tackles his problems head on. He is likely athletic and physically capable too. So again, this is the definition of alpha. You have to be in some sort of a physical strength shape, right? But we also know that being alpha stresses you out. So that can also lead to some long-term chronic health issues. But generally speaking, you are physically capable of being in that alpha position. And you're also resilient because there's going to be a lot of shit thrown your way when you're an alpha. And they go on to say that a high value man is not a robot and breaks down from time to time like anyone else. He leans on others for support and isn't afraid to ask for help when he needs it. Again, same thing in high value women, right? Also, same thing in alphas. Emotional intelligence. We kind of talked about that before with, other things. Assertive, enforces boundaries, knows how he should be treated, stands up for himself when he's disrespected. Same thing across the board. High value woman, alpha, whatever. Responsible, he takes responsibility for his mistakes. Will show up, is vulnerable and communicative, knows that keeping his fears bottled up isn't healthy, and asks his friends or partner to work through them with him. And I will also add that it could be going to a therapist and working through stuff, because stuff happens in life and nobody is expected to be able to do it alone. Maintaining healthy relationships, vulnerability, communication skills, deep respect for others, and takes care of himself. So again, pursuing hobbies, hanging out with friends, traveling, whatever that means. And he sticks to his values and beliefs. So they go on to kind of, I guess, assign a certain like personal values and beliefs to high value men, and I don't believe that that's necessarily like has a place in this definition here. So I'm gonna just skip that. Although honoring your values in everyday life, I think, is a really important thing. So whatever your values are, making sure that they show up. So let's say, actually, I do like this example that they gave. So if he is religious, again, same thing for high value woman, then making that a focus. If one of your values is adventure, then saying yes to life is what they say. Or making a point and a purpose to have new and different experiences, right? And being able to plan those things yourself and not rely on other people to do that for you. So I know that was way much more long-winded. I'll probably break this up into 2 different recordings, but there we are.